So there's been a lot of discussion lately surrounding CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077's separate multiplayer component after CD Projekt Red provided the following statement, and I'd like to present this to you guys so you can see the full transcript. And it reads, as far as the monetization of multiplayer for Cyberpunk is concerned, we believe right now it's definitely too early to share any details on that or give guidance. The project is in a relatively early stage. We keep experimenting. That's our first multiplayer game. We check various options and possibilities, and it's definitely not the time to point you to a specific direction on that. Of course, you can expect that we won't change our general policy towards deals with gamers, so I expect wise monetization and always value for money. Now, the fact that the term wise monetization was used raised a lot of alarms, which has led to a lot of articles to essentially say that microtransactions will be in the game, and I myself, unfortunately, fell for this and titled my video in a way that wasn't appropriate. In my initial reporting of this, I posted a video that was too declarative with its title, and that's actually still up on Twitter. It reads, Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer to have microtransactions, and I changed that as soon as I could once I realized that, no, this is not the way to frame this. And I try to change that to Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer seems to plan microtransactions, make it less declarative because we just didn't know. But then it was pointed out to me that Twitter still has the misleading title there, and I did my best to explain and apologize for that. And so that was completely my bad there, and I think it's led to some people misconstruing what's going on with the current situation with Cyberpunk 2077 multiplayer. It's led people to believe that it's a sure thing that Cyberpunk multiplayer will have microtransactions, when the fact of the matter is that they're just saying that this game just hasn't taken any kind of form, so it's hard to say anything right now. Though at the same time, some people are saying, well, they said wise monetization, but they haven't necessarily completely ruled out microtransactions as they did with the single player. And that's why I released an update video discussing some of the debates that are currently happening on the internet in terms of the meaning of what monetization could be. On one hand, it could be microtransactions, but monetization could also refer to other things like, a DLC or expansion model, an upfront sale type of thing, a subscription model. It could be other things beyond microtransactions, because that term microtransactions was never used specifically, and the only information really that we got is just this game is so early in development that it's hard to say anything about this game. Though word did begin to spread, and people hope to get more clarification on what the word monetization means for CD Projekt Red, because they ultimately did say they're going to add some form of monetization, the type that they call wise, but what does that necessarily mean? Well, there have been a couple of responses on that front from CD Projekt Red. First of all, here we have a response from Senior PR Manager at CD Projekt Red. I sent them an email and asked them for clarification on the term monetization, and the response I got from this individual was less clear. So that response reads, "Hey Young, appreciate reaching out, and yes, you're talking to the right person. However, in this case, we won't be able to provide any additional comments beyond what's already been said during the teleconference at the timestamp you're referring to. For your convenience, here's the official transcript with the exact quote." So that's the transcript here in question that I already showed you guys. And then here is a post by a Reddit user who posted the following thread, whose headline reads, "Someone asked about microtransactions yesterday at the Samurai on Tour gameplay demo. Here is their response." And then right here, they talk about how single player will absolutely have no microtransactions whatsoever, that it's going to be like Witcher 3 with free DLCs and expansions. And then on the multiplayer side of things, this is what the Reddit user reported. "The multiplayer, again, will be a separate game, and what he could say for sure is that CD Projekt Red will never rob their fans no matter what pricing model the multiplayer will have." And a similar sentiment was expressed in this earnings teleconference where Adam Kaczynski said, "Of course you can expect that we won't change our general policy towards deals with gamers, so I expect wise monetization." He's basically saying we're well aware of the goodwill we have garnered, and we're not going to compromise that with any shady monetization. So that's sort of the vague responses that we've gotten, but there's something a little bit more declarative here. This is Lilaya, who is the community manager over at CD Projekt Red, or one of them at least. And in the official Discord, I believe, for Cyberpunk, in one of the Discords there, Lilaya actually responded to concerns on this, and this Reddit user provided translations from Polish to English in terms of what she said. So, this reads, "Nobody even used the word microtransactions." And then, responding to another user, she said, "Monetization does not equal microtransactions. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk." So, this statement, I think, will put more people at ease because monetization is so often associated with recurring payment. And the word monetization has been used in so many shady ways in the past. You know, anytime a developer or a publisher said monetization, it's always usually referred to some kind of microtransaction or loot box system. And I think we have been so classically conditioned to associate monetization with the worst possible form of microtransactions or loot boxes possible that word immediately triggers people. And I think I have that syndrome as well, where as soon as I hear monetization, red flags go up. But if this usage of the word monetization is more general, where it could be referring to paid DLCs or subscription or anything that isn't really microtransactions, then there's certainly a possibility that CD Projekt Red won't engage in microtransactions and that they'll find a model that's more balanced and that's more appropriate for whatever this multiplayer experience will be, which, by the way, we still know nothing about. We don't know if it's going to be co-op or competitive. We don't know if it's going to be open world, though I assume it's probably going to take advantage and leverage the open world somehow, but we don't know what it entails. CD Projekt Red doesn't really know what it entails, and so they just can't say anything about a game that they themselves aren't really sure about in terms of how it works, and so they can't really build any kind of monetization model around something that they're not sure of, is the impression that I'm getting from this. But the clarification here reads, monetization does not necessarily equal microtransactions. So yeah, for my part, I think it's just more prudent to wait and see what happens. And CD Projekt Red has constantly acknowledged that they are aware of the discussion surrounding microtransactions. They are aware that they have essentially a deal with gamers. They are aware that there is this kind of egregious environment in the AAA landscape, and they're saying that they're not going to rob their fans no matter what pricing model the multiplayer will have. They're going to be as fair as possible. This is encouraging, to hear somebody from CD Projekt Red tangibly say monetization does not equal microtransactions. But at the same time, I do think that people have a right to be concerned whenever the word monetization is used. But if we take the word in a more literal sense and a more general sense, it really leaves the door open to good stuff and bad stuff. And based on how CD Projekt Red has behaved over the last few years, I'm gonna just expect that they understand their position, that they're gonna adhere to their policy of being as consumer-friendly as possible. Obviously, they can't just put this out and not make some money out of it. They're developing this game separately from the single player. They have to charge money somehow, whether it's via free-to-play model with microtransactions that are really well done, or via paid DLCs and expansions, or as a separate purchase. They have to monetize it somehow. It's just a matter of how well they do that. But with all said and done, the bottom line is that declarations of microtransactions are far too preemptive currently, given CD Projekt Red has really said nothing on that front, save for we are going to do our best to ensure that we maintain that relationship with gamers as far as monetization goes. And the shape that monetization takes obviously remains to be seen. And I think right now there's just a lot of confusion over what CD Projekt Red actually said, and I think I contributed to that due to the way I titled my video and due to my own sort of preconceived notions about the term monetization and what that could entail. But unlike other companies who have lied and BS'd us, CD Projekt Red has always been pretty upfront with the way they speak to us and with the way they communicate, so I'm going to choose to trust them. But anyway, there you have it, folks. This is how CD Projekt Red has responded over the last few days, and this is sort of me pointing out my own mistakes, and hopefully this will ease certain concerns that were caused by my mistitling of one of my previous videos. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what your take is on all of this, and to anyone who felt misguided or misled, or who got the wrong idea about this whole situation due to my mistitling of that video where I was too declarative about microtransactions, I apologize, and I'm always going to be concerned when the term monetization is used without explicit declarations, but at the same time, I need to add the appropriate context to that kind of coverage. And I hope the information in this video will help mitigate that and provide the appropriate context. To be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.